Hi, I'm Leila.
And I'm Roya.
We are students of business administration.
And today we will explain you the theory of consumer choice. So let's move to the topic. So what's consumer theory? Consumer theory is a series of assumptions about how people choose to spend their money. So a budget constraint shows the combination of goods that can be afforded with your current income. So if an iron costs $1 and a doner $2, the above budget constraint shows all the combination of the goods which can be bought with $40. For example, 20 iron and 10 doner, or 10 iron and 15 doner. So, what's indifference curves? An indifference curve is a line showing all the combinations of two goods which give a consumer equal utility. In other words, the consumer would be indifferent to these different combinations. When you have a certain number of donors, that is all you want to eat in a week. Extra donors give very little utility, so you would give up a lot of donors to get something else.
So, before we explain you the consumer's budget constraint and the consumer's preferences, now let's combine these two parts and analyze the consumer's choice in purchasing. Consider once again example with doner and iron. The consumer aims to maximize satisfaction by choosing the optimal combination of doner and iron, ensuring it lies on the highest possible indifference curve. However, the chosen combination must also adhere to the budget constraint, representing the total available resources. Now let's see it on a graph. Here you can see 3 indifference curves and 1 budget constraint line, and also points A and B. According to the graph, we can say that the consumer prefers point A on E3, but he can't afford this bundle of doner and iron. By contrast, point B is affordable, but because it lies on lower indifference curve on E1, the consumer doesn't prefer it. The highest indifference curve the consumer can reach here is E2. As we know, consumer chooses a point on his budget constraints that lies on the highest indifference curve. This point is optimum, where the slope of the indifference curve is equal to the slope of the budget constraint, or we can say that the marginal rate of substitution is equal to the relative price of the two goods. The optimum represents the best combination of doner and iron available to the consumer. Now let's examine how a consumption decision responds to change in the consumer's income. Our first case is when we have an increase in income. So when the consumer's income rises, the budget constraint shifts out. If both goods are normal goods, the consumer responds to the increase in income by buying more of both of them. Here the consumer buys more doner and more iron. Now let's see the case when we have an inferior good. A good is inferior if the consumer buys less of it when his income rises. Here, iron is an inferior good. When the consumer's income increases and the budget constraints shift outward, the consumer buys more doner but less iron. Now let's examine how a consumption decision responds to change in price. So when the price of iron falls, the consumer's budget constraint shifts outward and changes slope. The consumer moves from the initial optimum to the new optimum, which changes his purchases of both doner and iron. In this case, the quantity of iron consumed rises, and the quantity of doner consumed falls.
Shining down on me.
So this is the end of our video. Thank you guys for watching the video and listening to us. Don't forget to like. Bye.